lot of people, a lot of business owners in particular have a plan in their head, but they don't always get it in writing in the right structure that is going to be able to take that plan and put it into action and get results out of it. So today I'm going to walk through the elements of a strategic plan. It's a very simple process. It scares a lot of people when they think about strategic plan. They think about all the paperwork and administration and the follow-up and the detail. It's not like that. It just is not like that. Not the way we build it with the alternative board. So I'm going to go through the strategic planning process. I'm going to have a special offer for everyone at the end that isn't already an alternative board member. Everybody on the alternative board currently with Building Trades Network is in the process of creating their strategic plan. And then I'll also announce the topic to next month's series, or next month's topic on Building Trades Network's presentation. So let's talk about strategic planning. Here are some of the thought processes you need to be going through. And I'm sure you all have some thought around some of these, if not all of these. So where are you? Where do you stand right now in your business? And now is just the best time ever to start thinking about creating some strategies for the future. Because of course, it goes without saying the world has changed in many different ways and continues to change. But now that we've got this little gap, this little opportunity that's presenting itself, where do we want to go with this? How do we take advantage of the future that is now being presented to us? More importantly, how are we going to get there? If I gave you all in the direction to just get on your bike and ride to St. Louis today, many of you would get on your bike and start figuring out, but I didn't give you a map. I didn't tell you how to get there. I gave you no instructions on how to get through it. You just were going to figure it out on your own through trial and error. Most of you would make it, I'm sure, but some would get there quicker than others, and it would certainly be a whole lot more efficient and effective if I'd given you a roadmap as to how to find St. Louis between now and whatever time you wanted to get to St. Louis. So, and that's essentially what a strategic plan is where do I want to go? How am I going to get there? And in the end, it takes your strategic thought and puts it into a plan of action. The other thing that it does, and we're going to talk about this in a little more detail, is being able to make sure we get back to the reasons why we started our own business. We had a personal vision. We had something we personally wanted to achieve and gain from starting our own business, to be a business owner. And I got to tell you, most of the business owners I work with have lost touch with that original vision because the business has overwhelmed, it's not overwhelmed them, but has overtaken their thoughts, their activities, their daily lives, and they've lost sight of why they really started that business. And part of my approach with strategic planning is I want to come back to that original vision, and I want to reintroduce people to that motivation to starting your own business. Was it time? Was it money? Was it freedom? And we'll get more into detail on that in just a few minutes. But let's get back in touch with that, because your strategic plan should be the propulsion of you achieving your personal vision. And when you align those two, you get your personal vision aligned with your company's strategy, you're a whole lot more likely to get there. So let me talk a little bit about the benefits. We've worked with small businesses, private businesses for 30 years. This is our 30th anniversary. We've worked with over 100,000 business owners through the years. And our strategic planning process is essentially the same one we used 30 years ago. It has become online. It's become much more technology friendly. It's been made easier to use and understand, and to be more self-guided. But it is certainly easy to understand. I come from a corporate background, and we did strategic plans that took days and days and days and hours and hours and hours to form, and you had politics and you had bureaucracy, and yet very often I really got the sense that creating a strategic plan was just an act. It was a check mark. We really never used it in the way that I felt strategic plans should be used. I come into the private world, start my coaching business, come across TAB, came across their tools and said, this is what I was looking for even in the corporate world. It's very, very simple. And having being a product of the North Carolina public school system, it's real important for things to be simple for me. So it is simple. If I can understand it, anybody can understand it. But in the end, the steps follow something like this. We define your current status. We define the current status of the company and of you as a business owner. Then we're going to identify what the critical success factors are, what we call CSFs. What are the success factors that we need to accomplish in 90 days, 6 months, a year? They can be shorter term success factors. They can be longer term. They can be a decade long. But we're going to create the steps along the way to get you there, because it creates the roadmap, how we're going to get there. And my role in working with small businesses, including everybody that's on this Zoom call today, is to be able to help you form that roadmap. And this takes you step by step. It's a business building blueprint. It takes you step by step in an easy to follow format to get you there. Now, some of the benefits of having a strategic plan. If you have employees, let me tell you, I always encourage my business owners to include those employees as part of the strategic planning, because that creates buy-in. And when you align that buy-in from your employees to your strategic plan, man, that's a powerful force. So that alignment, that collaboration creates a propulsion level that is so powerful that most business owners, once they do it, they want to go kick themselves for never doing it before. But more importantly, the single most important element of employing people is for them to understand what's expected of them. And when you assign specific actions as part of your plan to specific employees, who's going to do what by when, that is also one that is often missed, maybe is a little too vague to your employee base, sometimes even a little vague to your partners or yourself. But when we understand who's going to do what by when, specifically, we're more likely to reach our goals. And what comes in conjunction with that is accountability. One thing that I've also learned through the years working with private businesses is business owners tend to give themselves the right to procrastinate. And when you've got a good strategic plan and you've got somebody like me or even your employees or your partners working with you to make sure you're staying on track, you're staying on the process, you're staying on the roadmap, you're much more likely to be able to accomplish what you're looking for. So you have to have a monitoring, you have to have a follow-up, you have to have the milepost of what you're looking for, that you're setting dates of when you're going to accomplish what by when. Now, there's a lot of excuses for why business owners, and I've heard all of these multiple times. I chose to enlist these today to maybe quell some of the excuses, our internal excuses we want to make for ourselves. And let me I'm going to pause 1 second. Excuses are usually ways for us to protect ourselves from potentially failure or rejection. And we don't want to do something for fear, false expectations appearing real. And part of my role as a business coach is to make people uncomfortable. I've got to encourage you, motivate you, direct you to do things that you don't normally do, that you haven't done in the past, for your own good. And for the good of your business, for the good of employees, for the future of your organization. And these excuses sometimes, they could be valid in your mind, but they're not valid in reality. And that's the reason why I call it fear, false expectations appearing real. And so some of the excuses I've heard is, I've got real problems right now and I need solutions right now. Well, yes, sometimes when we take knee-jerk decisions and put them into actions, it is the right thing to do. I've seen that certainly in the past 2 months in a big way, that many companies chose to lay off a bunch of people very fast, stop paying rent. Those were all, in many cases, the right thing to do. But if you, from a longer term standpoint, if you're operating weekly and monthly with that approach to running your business is solving a problem right now all the time, well, you're approaching it in a way that certainly will solve that problem, but you're not getting to the root cause. And until you create a solution to the root cause of what is creating these problems today that you're constantly facing, until you take inventory of these constant problems that you're facing, whether they're people issues or financial issues or not enough customers, a business development issue, unless you're really facing and getting down to the root of why that keeps facing you. A common problem is this, what I call kind of the roller coaster of business. But we get some business, we're working on that business, but we're not working on a constant plan for business development. And so we go through a trough. And all of a sudden it's, oh my God, I don't have any work to do for me and my crews. I need to get busy on business development all the time. And then so they get busy on business development all the time. They get another contract or two, and then they soften up on business development. It creates this feast or famine reality to their business. And maybe not all of you are doing that, but some of you can relate to that approach. And one of the things a business plan does for you is we're going to put actions and activities in place that we're going to do constantly. We're going to schedule it. We're going to make sure it's happening all the time to lessen that feast or famine reality that many businesses face. I don't have enough time. That is another great excuse. Yeah, that all sounds great, but I'm busy right now. It takes too much time. Well, it doesn't. That is just not the truth. Strategic planning reduces wasting of time. It's a time management approach. Many of you have sat through my time management event that I did a couple months back. But it manages your time. It makes your time spent effective. It makes sure that you're keeping the main thing in your regular activities. And I've had many people say, hey, I don't need a strategic plan. I'm successful right now. And if your company's already successful, well, how are you going to get to the next level? Do you just think that success is going to create itself? You ever heard of the Peter Principle, where your success is limited by your competency? And yes, you may be very successful at $1 million, $2 million, $10 million, $100 million, whatever your business size is. But how do you get to that next level? You've got to create a breakthrough. You've got to find new insights, new approaches. Sorry about that, my Zoom crashed. Let me get back to the sharing the screen. Did everybody see that okay, Paul? Okay, good, thank you.
Yeah, we got you now. So
all right,
good recovery.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
So certainly every business today is facing tough economic times. They don't want to spend any additional time on planning for tomorrow. They want to deal with today. And I get that, but we've got to be proactive about what tomorrow is going to bring. And a strategic plan allows you, it gives you that process that I've mentioned many times already to identify the changes that you need to make in order to continue your success or regain the success you once had. And to carry out those changes, those new processes, that change in thought effectively, to make sure it really happens. I'm going to ask you guys, and I guarantee you've heard this, Have you ever heard anybody say working in your business, not working on your business, not in your business? Working on your business, not in your business. That's what a strategic plan does. It allows you to make sure from a time management standpoint, to keep your long-term high priority activities on your calendar, on your to-dos all the time, so that it doesn't fall on and fall off. It doesn't get replaced with the day-to-day firefighting, with the day-to-day distractions and interruptions you get. It keeps it in your focus so that you continue to work on your business. You don't spend an inordinate amount of time putting out fires and dealing with distractions. Because very often when you fall into that trap of dealing with those distractions and losing sight of the long-term vision and goals of your company ends up running you versus you running your company. And very often that affects your work-life balance. And I've come across many business owners who have gotten very frustrated with being a business owner because they're working too many hours. They carry home a lot of frustrations. They carry home a lot of stress. And that's not fair to those folks that support us at home. And it's amazing to me how a strategic plan, once it gets in writing, you start seeing the successes from it, how that relieves stress, and you work less hours. It's just incredible. So let me talk about your personal vision just 1 second. Why did you get in business? Why did you start your own business? So this is one of the first questions we ask when we start talking about a personal vision. What is your personal vision? What do you want the business to provide you? Was that additional time to travel? Was that additional time to just go do the things that you like to do without the business being dependent completely on you? One of the things I encourage every business owner, every executive, every manager for that matter, is to make yourself dispensable. When you're dispensable to your business and your company can operate successfully without the day-to-day need of your presence, then you become very successful. But many business owners get too tied into the day-to-day, and the company is so heavily dependent on their presence, their thought, their direction on a day-to-day basis that it creates a work-life imbalance, and you got to be careful of that. Because once they started this business with this, this vision of what they wanted to go do, I wanted to work more in my charity. I want to give more back to my church. I wanted to mentor more people. I've heard hundreds of different reasons why people got into business. Usually it's time and money. I didn't want a boss. I wanted my activities to pay me, not some big corporation. And I also wanted to have the freedom to go do the things I wanted to do. And many, many, many of those who had that original vision have lost the ability to do either one of those because the business has overtaken them. A plan helps you tremendously with that. And the other thing, and the last thing I want to bring up is very often they wanted to be able to create a performing asset. They wanted to be able to create something that they could either pass on to a family member, their children, that they could sell, make money, and retire, or something that they could retire and was successful enough to continue paying them a wage or a salary that would maintain themselves in retirement. So what have we done to be able to achieve that vision? Most of us don't want to work until the day we drop. Most of us want to have something that we can either pass on or can support us or we can sell. Well, if that is your vision, if that is something you wanted to achieve as a business owner, we need to make sure you're on the path to get there. Are you taking the right steps? Have you structured your activities in a way that's going to get you to a point where you can sell your business for a value that's going to support you the rest of your life? And like I mentioned earlier, the strategic plan gives you a direction. The direction for taking your personal vision, Yeah. Man, well, let's do it this way. Think about the image you see on here to your right of the gentleman sitting on the bicycle. He has his hands on the handlebars. He's providing direction of where that bicycle is going to, he and the bicycle is going to head. And he's got his feet on the pedals. That's the propulsion of him getting to where he wants to go. That's what a strategic plan does, is we incorporate your vision of where you want to go and then design a plan around your company for you to be able to propel it through the power and force of your business to get you to where you want to go. And the goal in all this is to build a company that works for you versus you working for the company. And hopefully that will be able to give you the life that you originally envisioned, the original reason why you started your own business. Now, many people ask me, Paul, what does a strategic plan look like? And here's a real simple infographic of what a strategic plan looks like. As you see across the top, you see DCSF, CSF1, CSF2, etc. So what CSF stands for is a critical success factor. Critical success factor. And typically we limit the number of critical success factors to 3 or 4. That's about all that most companies, most individuals have the ability to really take actionable steps on. You don't want too much on there. You don't want to start creating goals and strategies and find out that was never going to be achievable. So we keep it focused on a limited number. The DCSF is a defining critical success factor. And very often a defining critical success factor is a succession plan. It's a sell plan. It's how am I going to sell my business? How am I going to succeed my business to either a key employee, a partner, a family member? Very often it ties into retirement. It could be that somebody wants to establish a high level of market share. They want to be the preeminent player in their niche of business. So they want to start buying out competitors. That could be a defining critical success factor. And I can get into more explanation if anybody needs me to. But so we start with what's our success? What does success look like? How can we measure that success? And then what is the goal? What is the goal we want to achieve? And that feeds us, that arrives us. That's the first mile marker we want to get to on the trip to our vision, is what's the goal? And each year you're going to have a goal. And in order to get to $2 million, you got to get to $1 million. In order to get to $3 million, you got to get to $2 million. So your goal may be as simple as $2 million in sales this year, or $3 million in sales, or $10 million in sales, or $500,000 in sales. It could be that I need 100 clients versus 50 clients. It could be that I need to hire a successor. I need to hire a key employee that I can start developing in order to achieve my defining critical success factor of succeeding, or be able to pass my business off to somebody else. And then the next level down in a strategic plan is creating a strategy. So what are the things that I need to think about and do in order to achieve that goal? And let's just use the one for succession. I need to hire someone in order to develop someone who can in turn take over as the key employee, the successor, and run this business for me. Or it could be so I can only work 20 hours a week versus 40, 50, 60 hours a week. So what have I got to do? I've got to hire that person. And when do I need to have that person hired by? Who's going to do take the actions to hire this person? What's the timeline that those actions are going to take place? See, when we do a strategic plan, we put timelines on everything. What we call SMART goals: specific, measurable, agreed upon. And the R in SMART is either realistic or the person responsible for it. And then we've got to make it time bound. So all your goals have got to be smart. Who's going to be doing what by when? Parkinson's law says that the job will expand to the time allotted. That's a huge frustration for many business owners is that their employees don't get done all the things they expect them to be accomplishing. Well, very often I'll point out to them that, hey, what timeline did you give them to get that accomplished? And very often the answer is, I didn't. Well, there's your answer. You didn't give that person a timeline to get things done. And, I've had a goal for years to accomplish this. Well, what did you want to get done in the first year? What did you want to get in the first month? What did you want to get done in the first week? You got to put a timeline. You got to structure your approaches, your strategies, your goals with time in mind, because the job will expand to the time allotted. And if there's not a defined time allotted, it's just infinite. And then you're going to take those strategies and you got to create actionable items in order to achieve that. You've got to run an ad. You got to do the interviews. You're going to have to make a selection. You're going to have to hire them. You're going to have to onboard them. What's the first thing you want to do to start developing them? Is it business development you want to train them? Do you want them to take over that part of your business? Do you want them to start taking over the operational part of your business? Well, what are the actions you need to take? What steps, what the very, very clear steps do you need to take in order for them to start that development plan? So that, in essence, is what a strategic plan looks like. And hopefully you see the simplicity of this the way I do. It's not that difficult. Now, I can show you on paper or virtually the easiest way on the planet to build one out for you. Happy to do that. But I'm gonna pause right now. I'm gonna get to something in just a minute that will help anybody that wants to take advantage of it. But I'm gonna pause right now. Paul, I'll let you take over the questioning part of it. Help me stay on track of anybody that has a question. Let me open this up for questions or comments anybody has on creating a strategic plan for themselves.
So right now I have everyone on mute. There's a little trick if anyone does have any questions, because I can't see everyone right now. If you just hit the space bar, and does anyone have any questions for Vaughn right now? Doesn't Vaughn?
Yeah, I mean,
oh, go ahead, Amjad.
Yeah, I think it would really help, if we can just take a sample construction company and say, how would this construction company, let's say the critical success factor for a construction company is to achieve a certain stability, so that like the standard operating process, whatever, so they can sell the company, right? So let's say we take a construction company that is trying to achieve the goal of being able to have the company run by itself, be able to marketable company. And then the goal of the company, maybe 20 million in sales or 30 million in sales, something. It would be great to go through an example.
Sure.
I know yeah.
So you're throwing me on the spot, AJ. Thanks for that. But so critical success factors is, let's just say that's going to be to reach $20 million, and that's going to be our exit, right? Any leasing, right? And
yes.
so
Yep.
what's the first thing we have to have in order to get to $20 million? Where are we right now? And how long are we giving ourselves to get to $20 million? Is that something we can reach in a year? Is that something we can reach in a decade? Do we do that through acquisition? Do we do that through organic growth? What's our marketing strategy? What's our building business development strategy? And as we start, let's just say we're going to work on a marketing strategy. Is that content? Is that website? Is that Google AdWords? Is that an email campaign? Is it an integrated marketing campaign that takes in all of those? Do you need to network more? Do you need to go out and join more associations? Do you need what clients should you be approaching? Or where do you want a niche? Do you want to be all things to everything, which is very dangerous? Or do you want to find a niche? Do I only want to deal with Target or Costco or McDonald's or Bank of America in order to get there? So we've got to have a target audience. We've got to know who our customer is. Doesn't mean that's going to be the only customer we have for the next 20 years or the only target we're going to have for the next 20 years, but we've got to have a target and we've got to define what that target is. And then what are the steps we're going to take in order to go approach that target? Do we need to use LinkedIn? Do we need to use our internal network to find introductions to those people? When we talk to them, what's our presentation? What are we going to tell them that's going to be compelling enough for them to start thinking about us for their future construction needs? What's our value proposition that this organization brings that my competitors don't? Well, the first thing many people say is, well, I provide customer service, a great customer service, exceptional customer service. Well, hell, everybody says that. So how do you define exceptional customer service? What have your previous customers said? Oh, I need to be able to tell them that? Or am I doing customer surveys? Am I publishing those customer surveys? So does that start taking down the path that you're looking for there, AJ?
Yeah, I think exactly. I think that so this is something that you help people define in very clear terms, so they can have a daily plan, a weekly plan, and then have some accountability. And if they don't have the skill set, they can then outsource to companies that provide those type of skills for a price.
Absolutely.
Is that correct?
That's absolutely right. Well said, AJ. And listen, if it's not me helping you design this and holding you accountable and giving you the direction, find somebody, because the very common term is you don't know what you don't know. And if you've never been through a real strategic plan, and I did strategic plans for $2 billion businesses. I've done them for $1 million businesses. I've done them for $100,000 businesses. The structure of a strategic plan is essentially the same, regardless of the size, regardless of the industry, regardless of the business owner. You may have different priorities and different strategies that you need to work on in order to fill gaps, but a good strategic plan includes a look in the mirror. You know, what's my strengths, what my weaknesses, what are my opportunities, what are the threats to my business? So it's multi-layered in all that. But I bring that up because, AJ, you and I are working on a strategic plan for exclusively content,
right?
And you're pretty far down the road on getting the plan together. But it's one thing to build the plan; it's another thing to put that thing to action and start getting the results out of it. The other thing too about a strategic plan is you've got to understand that all your plans aren't going to work, or they're going to take way longer than you ever expected them to. And so it's flexible, it's fluid. The plans that I did with some businesses in January, you know where they are today? Out the window. We're rebuilding plans because the world changed. And so you got to understand too that when the world changes, or the economy changes, or your industry changes, or a new competitor comes into play, you've got to be able and willing to change your plan. You got to change courses. Still with the same direction in mind, you may have added years to the thing you're trying to accomplish, the vision you're trying to achieve, but you got to change plans. You don't just give up. Does that help? Does that help some, AJ, from your perspective?
Yep.
All right, cool.
Yeah. I think the more examples that we all share, more we participate, it will help all of us to realize it's because there's so many issues that come up that you get overwhelmed. But I think it's only through participation in a group like this that we can get this thing completed. Without it, I mean, we're never going to achieve anything. So. Everybody needs this roadmap.
Everybody does, and I'm going to have a special offer coming up that will get people started on it, and hopefully they'll get a taste of it. And once they get a taste and understand how powerful and simple this can be all at the same time, they'll want to take it to the next step and the next step and the next step. Thanks, AJ.
Can I make a quick comment?
Please.
Vaughn, you're helping me through this stuff, and it's the accountability that I have found that moves it forward. Otherwise, you can think about it, you know about it, but it doesn't execute because you get caught up in the day-to-day stuff. So yeah, that was
All
it.
right.
Accountability moves it forward.
It does. You've got to have that accountability partner. It's got to be in writing.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I'm rereading a book called Atomic Habits, and if you guys haven't read that book, it's a really good book to read. I think it's must read for most business owners, because many of the things that keep us from achieving what we're looking for is our own personal habits, and good or bad. And if you want to improve your habits, there's a process that every single person has to go through in order to achieve that. But in the end, when you put something in writing, it's been proven study after study after study, that when you put something in writing, the likelihood of you achieving that goes up twofold. And most studies, when people just talk about it, is about 30% of them will achieve that goal. But it's over 82% of the people who put it in writing and then have a plan in place in writing to achieve that goal, 82% achieve that goal. So, and it's just a habit. It's just whether you're trying to lose weight or trying to quit smoking or trying to learn how to play the guitar, whatever it is, you're forming new habits. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one.
Let's go. How are you today?
First of all, an excellent presentation. I've got a strong background in business and marketing as well, and I think you know that, and that was just fabulous. I really appreciated that.
You're very generous.
Absolutely. What I somehow missed, Vaughn, I don't know how, but the DCSF stands for what?
Defining critical success factor.
Okay, thank you.
So that's the ultimate goal. That's where I want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Sure.
You should repeat the part of the alternative board, because I think you kind of went through it fairly quickly. What this is about.
Oh, the alternative board. Well, I'm gonna get into that in just a second. Thank you, AJ. And why don't I just move over to that now? I'm gonna put a little plug in next Tuesday at 11 o'clock. I've got my next in a series of webinars that I invite you all to. We're sending out this information, by the way, to everybody via a PDF document, a copy of the slide presentation along with all my contact information and the links to these upcoming events I'm inviting you to. But this is a series of webinars I've put together over the past couple weeks called RISE, which RISE is an acronym for reassess, inspect, create a strategy, and then execute. And the next one next Tuesday at 11 a.m. is on inspect, taking stock, literally, and then rebooting. What do we have to reboot in order to leverage what we have? And I'll take you through the process, the thought process on how to get yourself there, which will lead to the next step, which is strategy, which will be coming up shortly after that webinar. Will be coming up shortly after that. So hopefully you guys will utilize the opportunity to join that webinar next Tuesday at 11 o'clock. Love to see you. You know, because in a great economy, most business owners have absolutely no reason to take a hard look at themselves. But in a crisis, all of a sudden, it's a perfect time to start looking at ourselves. And it's a great time to take inspection. And I got to tell you, with almost every business owner I've been working with over the past couple of years, this has been, to some degree, a real opportunity, something that many have appreciated the opportunity to really look at where they're at and redefine where they want to go. It's been a little bit of a pause. And this RISE series of webinars is built around getting you to rethink where you were and think about where you're going to go. And we're going to examine your weaknesses and your strengths and understand what we need to compensate for. We're going to play to your strengths, but we got to make sure that we're also compensating for those weaknesses. And in some cases, it's going to create the need to make some difficult decisions, but we'll talk about those decisions as well. And then you offered, AJ, for me to talk a little bit more about the alternative board. So the alternative board is essentially a board of advisors, a board of directors, if you will, for private business owners. And I assemble these boards. We meet once a month for 3 to 4 hours per month. It's either virtual or in person. We sit around a table. Each person talks about their strategies, their goals, what their challenges are right now. It creates that level of accountability that AJ and Paul like, and holding you accountable to achieving your goals and living up to your commitments, achieving your commitments. And we meet for 4 hours. In between those meetings with other business owners, your peers in business, which often you're sitting there with 200 or 300 years of experience at one of these board meetings. And very often that person who's sitting across from you has faced that same challenge that you're currently facing and has real life advice, third-party advice, in order for you to overcome that challenge. It's very powerful. I invite any of you, if you're ever interested in attending one of our board meetings for free, just let me know. We'll invite you in as a guest. You can see how it works. No obligation. There's no heavy sell in any of this. If you'd like to check it out, love to have you. But in between those meetings, I meet with my business owners, members. It's a membership program for about an hour, sometimes 2. And we work on these strategies. We work on what they need to be accomplishing to maximize the effectiveness of their business. And as part of that, we create a strategic plan. Everybody has a strategic plan, and I would like to offer everybody that's attending today the opportunity to get a good taste of what a strategic plan begins with, which is a business diagnostic. And I'll offer this to anybody on here for free. I've never done this before, which sounds really kind of salesy, but it is. I normally charge $795 for this. For anybody on here today, it's free. And we'll take a deep dive. And AJ has gone through this. Paul is working on this. Chris and Sharon are working on this. It is very, very, very deep. And it's also, it allows you to really see the state of what your business is. And it takes you through the 10 common functional areas that all businesses have. Now, depending on your business, some of these are more important than others. Depending on your business, some of these are a higher priority than other businesses. It's not a one size fits all. It's completely custom to you and where you are at your business. But we need to make sure that you've got the right activities and the right level of activities in order for you to be achieving in your areas of priority. And like AJ and I are working heavily on customer service. And we've realized that we need to understand what our customers want, what our customers are saying, and how we build and deliver executive or exclusively contents services to fill the need of those clients and prospective clients. In some it's sales, in some it's employee development, and so on. But these are all common. Every business has some level of need for all these 10. We'll take a deep dive into these 10 common functional areas. Very often, you'll think that one thing should be a priority for your business. And as we go through this exercise, you'll realize, oh no, I'm doing a pretty good job with that. But I'd never thought that I needed to work on all this because I never gave any thought to it. It's a true business diagnostic. I'll review the results with you. We'll brainstorm on some ideas to create some action plans for you. And then from that, you'll then have the real information you need to start creating a business plan. And then there's also in there some special questions for companies that bid for work, family businesses, planning to sell your business, time management. So it's 10 plus those 4. And then another 5 more for other special services, unique businesses. But we'll only go through the 10 as part of this. in the end, it creates a very, very, very detailed report on where you stand. And it spits out a bar graph like this that shows you how you're performing to the importance or the priorities of your business. And where is your strategic thinking now as opposed to where it needs to be? And making sure that we're putting the right importances, is that even a word? The right importances for you in place as your priority in order to achieve what you're looking for. It is a real brain blower for some people. But again, takes about 2 hours. It's online, it's virtual. We don't even have to meet in person. We'll do it together. It is one of the most powerful tools that we utilize at the Alternative Board as part of our strategic planning. I think it's a great tool for everybody to take advantage of, and I'm more than happy to provide that for you, absolutely at no cost. Just let me know that you want it. No obligation. I'm not going to put a sell on you. I promise you that. But it's my way of being able to provide some tools and some knowledge, some ability for you as business owners, as part of the builders or building trades network, to be able to get to the next level. So my contact information will be in the packet you receive. Love to be able to talk to you more about it. And then next month, we're going to be talking about the one of the parts that always goes into a strategic plan, or what are my key performance indicators? What gets measured gets improved. Carnegie came up with that saying back in the 20s. But what gets measured gets improved. And if you don't have a goal, if you don't have numbers associated with a goal, you're less likely to achieve what you're looking for. But many companies get very confused with what KPIs are, and more importantly, how do I establish KPIs, key performance indicators? And I've done it for decades. I'll help you understand the importance of it. More importantly, the how-to of establishing KPIs, and more importantly, how do I, not only what do I measure, how do I measure them, and the steps to making sure you're hitting your targeted KPIs. So that's next month's business topic. So that's it for today. Paul, I'll turn it back over to you. Is there anybody else that has any questions or anything else we need to wrap this thing up? I'm really shocked that I'm right on time today.
Ron, thank you for this, and it's a great offer. I'm actually a paying member now of TAB and getting a lot out of it. So does anyone have any questions? No? Okay. One thing I do want to mention is that all of Vaughn's content is up on our Building Trades Network Basecamp account, and all members have access to that. So if there's anything that you want to find, it's there. And this presentation will be posted along with Vaughn's information for the Tuesday, his Tuesday Rise at 11 o'clock. So thank you everyone for joining. Vaughn, thank you very much for all of this.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, and thanks for your participation today. And I look forward to seeing you all again very soon, and hopefully in person soon, Paul.
Yeah.